Regularly scheduled Homelessness and Poverty Committee will bring this meeting to order, and we'll take multiple item comment cards first, and starting with Herman. Armando Herman will be first, and you have filled out multiple cards and then one for general public comment. You get a total of 3 minutes for everything, 1 minute for general public, 2 minutes for all the items. He'll be followed by Greenspan and then followed by Wayne Spindler. This meeting is in order, so let's have order, and let's start.
Lyrics to the Aggie Warheim on Housing and Community Investment Department. Why do we have a supportive housing project? Why even do we bother with state homeless emergency aid funds when it's only regarding service for women in Skid Row? I'm a faggot. I'm a bitch. Why can't I be provided the same women in Skid Row emergency aid, nigga? You with the funny suit. So you see, utilize state homeless emergency aids for various niggas like me. A faggot. A puto. That's what I know about areas including shower and restrooms. I don't have that easy access, bro, because that tie and suit don't fit right when I can't shower or bathe. So those 3 items in Jose Huizar, the man who made the history at city FBI investigation as of today, for the record. FBI, I want to investigate homeless emergency aid regarding why I, a disabled man with a faggot attitude, can't get the same protection of services as women in Skid Row, Jose Huizar. Why can't I? In addition to mommy in item 5, the fat orange pumpkin, she too knows what it's not like to be homeless on housing. Because if I dressed like a whore, then I would probably get the same prevention program service. For the record, Mr. Rue is in the house.
1 minute for general public comment.
Now, 42 U.S.C. 1983 is my protection of free speech. It's not to terrorize or bring any boogie scare to anyone like Mr. Dawson, who has his back to me because he's such a faggot afraid of me. But in addition to what I'm trying to say, 18 U.S.C. 242, 18 U.S.C. 245, I should have the equal right to enjoy activities, programs, and services in the United States. Now I'm bringing into the record my lawsuit against the city of Los Angeles for not providing me with housing under HUD Section 8, and fuck you, LASA. You did not help me. Janice Hahn did not help me. The city of Los Angeles didn't help me. Fuck you. Thank you, Ben Carson.
Greenspan, 2 minutes for multiple comments and 1 minute for general.
Mike Greenspan, 7 and 2 Florida Gator, which is greater than a 4 and 5 of those other guys. There's one question I've always wanted to ask, because I've heard this mentioned at the county board, and now we're doing it here about the hotels. So let me turn to the proper page to talk about it, because I think it's item number 8, motel vouchers for 30 families, and then congregate family housing for 30 families in Council District 8. Are these respectable motels, you don't mind me asking, or are they by the hour rooms? I've always been curious, because a real good, respectable place would be pretty much filled to capacity almost night after night. So I've often wondered, you know, is this one of those things kind of like where the Days Inn in Glendale, where the late Chris Burrows of KTLA was overdosed on poppers. I mean, I'm just asking what kind of activities are going on at these hotels. I just have my doubts about it. And now I see that there's about $4 million going into Council District 6. Well, they're my neighbors. I used to be in Council District 6, and now because of redistricting, I'm in Council District 2. And yes, don't think of just the Studio City end of Council District 2 with Mr. Krikorian. A lot of Council District 2 used to be in Council District 6, which is not as prosperous, and we could probably use a sliver of that $4 million, maybe a couple million at the northern end of that district. There are just a couple of issues I really have wanted to mention because nobody else seems to be mentioning them. And as we go to, I'll just say, now, general public comment.
Yes.
Okay. We need to get a game contract going with our city attorney so the UCLA Chickens could play the Gators in the swamp. But if not, then why don't they just disband the program? I don't see us having a great season at 4 and 5. Those are tens of millions of dollars that keep going down this black hole. I've even suggested the idea that we house a lot of homeless over there in the Rose Bowl. The idea actually came to me from a movie called Dr. Zhivago, where the short, stout female version of a Paul Koretz is from the housing committee at Dr. Zhivago's house. He's returned from war, and she says, well, the housing committee determined 13 people could live in this house. Surprising Dr. Zhivago as he returned from war because there was no more private property or private home ownership. And so the Rose Bowl could house a lot more than 13. And thanks.
Wayne Spindler, 2 minutes for multiple items, 1 minute for general.
It's good. It's the first time I've seen the front of the bald head over there, the Marquise. So, you gotta turn your chair forward because you're scared. There you go, bitch. Now, number 1, Home Path. Synonym Katie Hill was working for the Home Path. That's where she learned all her prostitution skills, rose all the way to Congress, and fell all the way into my lap. Now she just a bitch. Now, number 2, we got no housing plan, the Lamp Lodge. Is that what we doing? Monica getting her old stamping grounds, taking and making hotels homes. Well, that's the way most of you started your careers on your backs. Up there in those rooms. Humpty, Humpty, Dump, Dump, Dump. What do I say? I want to get a Humpty Hump. I want to get the Humpty Hump so I can get on the school board and then the city council. I want to do the Humpty Hump. And that's why it brings back good memories for everybody but us out here. And then number 5, the biggest, fattest cow in the history of America. Yes, a.k.a. Pumpkin Bitch on number 5, CD6. The biggest, fattest of them all. $4 million of fat money for fat people doing fat things. No. Then we get to the homosexual section of number 6, CD11. Mark Bonin fucking us out of money. And then 8, yes, number 8, Mr. Backhead. Isn't it too bad we can't see him turn around, Harris Dawson in his chair? But look at that cheap suit that he got off the rack. That's right. Look at it. It's not even him correctly because he ain't stealing enough money to properly dress. I fully object. I just can't stand it. He got to get my money. Now, the general comment. You ever notice that Monica Rodriguez wears that same little starfish pin every day? Now, why, with a couple of $100,000 a year plus the expense accounts and all the stealing and money laundering, can't they get this woman a new piece of jewelry? Now, we got to get her a nice watch, or we got to get her a nice brooch. We got to get her something. Other than the goddamn starfish pin. I get tired of it. Even my Quizzy Harris Dawson, he turns his head, he tired of looking at it. That's right. See, all these people here tired because they have a secret. The $200 million budget hole and growing that they are in. And that's why I'm going to file a new lawsuit. Mr. Herman's filing a new lawsuit. Should everybody south of the 10 Boulevard come next with Miller Desire kick your ass?
Antonio Ramirez here. Antonio Ramirez. You're next, if you're listening. Antonia Ramirez, who filled out multiple items and 1 minute for general public. She doesn't appear to be here, so that's Antonia. And Hector, 1 minute for general public comment and 1 minute for item number 6. If there is a Hector, no additional name. Hector doesn't appear to be here, nor does Antonia Ramirez. Those are all the multiple items and general public comment. General public comment is now closed, and we will go to Amy Gustinik on item 11, followed by Enrique Velasquez, followed by Jane Demian. And you're all welcome to come and, well, maybe there's just one chair, so maybe one at a time today. Amy Gustinik.
Hi, my name is Amy Gustinsik. I'm president of the LFIA, the Los Feliz Improvement Association. We're one of the oldest neighborhood residents associations in the city, and we're proud to represent all of the residents of Los Feliz, which includes homeowners, renters, and our homeless population. And I'm here to speak in favor of the agenda item for funding for our Bridge Home project. We have widespread community support for this project, and LFIA has been proud to support this project from the very beginning. So I'm here to request that you approve the funding that's necessary to move this project forward to help the residents in our community who are currently experiencing homelessness. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Gustinsik, you also fill out a separate card for public, general public, which I just now caught.
I had a little confusion,
Okay, so
but
you're good.
That's the only comment. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Amy Turk, followed by Enrique Velasquez. Amy Turk.
Good afternoon, council members. Thank you. Just here to support from Downtown Women's Center. I'm our Chief Innovation Officer to support item number 3. We look forward to supporting women in the Skid Row community even more than ever to find permanent housing. And what's most exciting about this is that we're putting some action towards 2 really important initiatives in our community administered through LASA, the Women's Ad Hoc Committee on Homelessness and the Black People Experiencing Homelessness Ad Hoc Committee. Those recommendations will be put to action with this funding. So thank you for your support.
Thank you. Enrique Velasquez, followed by Jane Demian.
Good afternoon. Enrique Velasquez with the Everyone campaign. Just to let you guys know that we support this project. We think is very necessary as the rest of projects throughout the city of LA. Just wanted to say that the financing is very necessary for this project to happen. There is a homeless population in this particular side of town, and there is nothing like it at the moment. So we are behind this project. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jane Demian, followed by John Deutsch.
Hello, Jane Demian. I'm the homelessness liaison with the Eagle Rock Neighborhood Council. I'm here as an individual, and I just wanted to say that I have worked with the Silver Lake Neighborhood Council on many projects, and I do support item number 11, the bridge housing, and hopefully that you will approve funding for that project. In Eagle Rock, we don't have any bridge housing. We don't have any services, no shelters, which I will point out when I discuss item number 9. And so hopefully you will approve the funding for this project, and thank you very much.
Thank you. And Ms. Demian, you also submitted another comment?
Yes,
right?
on item number 9.
9. Would you go ahead and... yeah.
Okay. Again, I'm the homelessness liaison for the Neighborhood Council, Eagle Rock Neighborhood Council. I brought a CIS in support, which I think you should have. As I said before, we don't have any services in Eagle Rock. We don't have mobile showers, we don't have shelters, we don't have bridge housing, we don't have permanent supportive housing. So this particular lot on Figueroa is very important because it will be the very first place that we can invite our unhoused neighbors for safe parking, for example. As you know, there's at least 25% of our residents in Los Angeles live in their vehicles, and that includes Eagle Rock. Safe parking is crucial, and it's urgent, and so we would like to be able to use that lot for mobile showers, for a visit by a case manager, to help folks come out of the shadows so they can be placed into the coordinated entry system, and they could provide housing and jobs and medical care for these folks. So we'd really like you to approve the lot for safe parking and mobile showers.
Thank you. John Deutsch, item 9, and also
Just item 11.
item 11. That's all you need, item 11. Okay, thank you.
But I should point out for the record that I am the president of the Los Feliz Neighborhood Council, and we
Okay.
do have a CIS on record for this item, but I will not take that much time. I just want to point out that this project is supported not only by the entire Neighborhood Council and the Improvement Association, but our local senior club and several of our leading community groups. And I don't need to tell you that that doesn't happen often for a land use issue, let alone for housing for our homeless neighbors. I'd like to thank Councilmember Rue and his staff, especially Catherine Landers and Rachel Fox, who are here today. It took a lot of work. It took lots of months of quiet one-on-one, one-on-two conversations, and I really encourage you to look at this as a case study on how a neighborhood that has great affluence and great need can come together so that every aspect of the entire neighborhood can get behind this project. So we support it fully. We hope that it will be fully funded and up soon, and we really would love to work with you in any way we can to help this come to other neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. Red Chief, followed by Tory Bailey. I don't see the Red Chief Hunt here. So, Tory Bailey.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Hello.
How are you? I have a quick statement of awareness that needs to be said in regards to homelessness and another population, and that's senior abuse. So I have a particular senior right now. I'm the homeless liaison for CD10. However, I get calls from everywhere. Right now, I have an 81-year-old who has been scammed out of her property, and she paid for it cash in the 90s. It's a high-rise luxury building in Rue's area. We've been to Councilman Rue's office, and they want us to do detective reporting. However, we couldn't get the police to do reporting yet. I just want to bring that to your attention that this is happening. And also, I have 2 permanent spots for showers. If we can come up with a solution of how we can make that happen, that would be wonderful. And I will talk to you offline.
Thanks, Tory.
You're welcome.
That's all I have for comment cards. I hope you all have the same info. So, colleagues, what I'd like to do is continue item 13, and then take items 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 12 on consent. Again, those are items 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 on consent, if there are no objections. Yeah. So, Ms. Amati, if you could read those items into the record.
Item number 1, City Administrative Officer and Housing and Community Investment Department reports relative to the tax-exempt multifamily conduit revenue bonds and the Home Investment Partnerships Program for the Path Villas Montclair Gramercy Supportive Housing Project. Item number 3, motion Weezar Bonin relative to a request to utilize the State Homeless Emergency Aid Funds for rapid rehousing and services for women in Skid Row. Item number 4, motion Weezar Bonin relative to a request to utilize the State Homeless Emergency Aid Funds for various programs in the Skid Row area, including shower and restroom access and community ambassadors. Item number 5, motion Martinez O'Farrell relative to a funding request of approximately $4 million for rapid rehousing to assist families experiencing homelessness in Council District 6 from the Homeless Housing Assistance and Prevention Program. Item number 6, motion Bonin Harris Dawson relative to a funding request totaling $1 million for shared housing placement services for Venice Bridge home clients. Item number 7, Motion Price Wesson relative to a funding request totaling $1 million to establish a shared housing program with the Self-Help and Recovery Exchange to serve 100 individuals from the HAP grant. Item number 8, motion Harris Dawson Weezar relative to a funding request totaling $2,299,500 that includes $1,423,500 to provide motel vouchers to 30 families and $876,000 for congregate family housing for 30 families in Council District 8, and the use of the state fiscal year 2019-20 funds for family shelter. Item number 9, motion Weezar Rodriguez relative to use of the parking lot located at 7541 North Figueroa Street as temporary emergency facilities for people experiencing homelessness. And item number 12, Municipal Facilities Committee report relative to a new lease agreement with Hope of the Valley Rescue Mission for a property owned by the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power at 11839 Sherman Way for use as a navigation center for persons experiencing homelessness.
Thank you. So now let's go to item 2. And we're going to bring up HSID, but please read item 2 into the record.
Item number 2, Housing and Community Investment Department report and resolution and City Administrative Officer to report relative to the replacement housing plan and the ground lease Lamp Lodge supportive housing project.
I understand we have an amendment.
There is an amendment to the CEO report from
Okay.
HSID. Did you want the CEO to read their recommendations on the record as well?
I need someone to read it.
Okay.
I was just given that there's an amendment. I don't even know what it is.
Okay. So my name is Emily Zen Cervantes from the Office of the City Administrative Officer. HSID is requesting approval for a replacement plan for the Lamp Lodge project. Subsequent to the release of the report, the city attorney found out that the current lease cannot be extended for an additional 99 years, and that that there should be a new lease instead. And so our report amends the HSID's report to adopt the resolution, as well as that for City Council to determine that the public interest or necessity requires the long-term ground lease of the city-owned parcels located at 656-660 Stanford Avenue, Los Angeles, APNs 5147-029048 and 5147-029049 to the current lessee under the existing ground lease without advertisement for bids, and to authorize the HSID General Manager or designee to A, terminate the existing Lamp Lodge ground lease and negotiate a new Lamp Lodge ground lease for a term not to exceed 99 years, subject to the review and approval of the city attorney as to form, and B, amend and restate the existing disposition and development agreement or terminate the existing DDA and negotiate and execute a new DDA as necessary to facilitate the development of the project, subject to the review and approval of the city attorney as to form, and to execute any relevant documents required to effectuate this transaction. And HSID has an additional amendment to our recommendation.
Okay.
So this is Tim Elliott from HSID. The city attorney requested that we add language to recommendation 3A that talks about a new 99-year ground lease, and we wanted to add with an annual base rent payment of $1 and a pro rata share of 50% of the residual receipts to be shared with the other soft lenders.
And our office concurs with that amendment.
All right. So it's all in writing, so we're good to approve the item as amended? Yeah, with no objections? Thank you. So let's go ahead and we're going to take items 10 and 11 together.
Item number 10, statutory exemption under Public Resources Code Section 21080.27 as set forth in the notice of exemption attached to the council file, and motion Koretz for Krikorian Rue relative to the construction of an abridged home facility located on city property at 77007798 Van Nuys Boulevard. This item is also referred to the Budget and Finance Committee, and please note that there is a revised BOE report on file. Item number 11, categorical exemption from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Section 15269C and statutory exemption under Public Resources Code Section 21080B4 as a specific action necessary to mitigate an emergency as set forth in the notice of exemption attached to the council file. And motion Rue Rodriguez relative to approving funds in the amount of $1,465,000 to complete the design and purchase the tension membrane structure and modular trailers for a bridge home facility at 3210 and 3248 Riverside Drive. This item is also referred to the Budget and Finance Committee.
Thank you, and I believe Meg Barkley from CEO's office is going to present.
10 and 11.
Please come up, Meg. Do you have anything to add? I know I have a question for you, but do you have anything to present on?
No, both of these motions are needed to allow these projects to move forward into the next phase of design and to accommodate the long lead time on purchasing the sprung structures for these two sites as well as the modular trailers.
And they're asking for a reserve fund loan with a reimbursement commitment, I understand. So a question would be, are there any unexpended HEAP funds that are available now to be used for the design and purchase of the tension membrane structure and the modular trailers?
Yeah. All of the HEAP funds are, at this time, except for the about a little more than $1 million remaining in the set aside for Skid Row, all of the HEAP funds are committed to other projects and are under contract or encumbered to other expenses.
Okay. So what we approved multiple motions today that we're requesting HAP funding, that's Homeless Housing Assistance and Prevention Program, and they'll all be part of the report from the CLA and the CAO, and that's what I'd like to do with these two motions as well. Approve both items with an amendment regarding HAP funding and consider these projects as part of the HAP requests that have come forward and include them as part of the recommendation in the upcoming HAP report by the CLA and the CAO.
Yes, sir, with the understanding that because this is a reserve fund loan, we absolutely need to identify this as the repayment source, but if you'd prefer to approve that particular recommendation through the report that we'll be submitting for December 6th, we can do that.
Okay, so we'll have greater clarification and details on the loan, the funding reimbursement, et cetera, at the December 6th.
We will have a recommendation to reimburse the reserve fund loan, I would imagine, in that report. Okay. We need to have a source to justify the reimbursement, to justify a reserve fund loan because of, the reserve fund needs to be floating these funds for a period of time, but needs to be repaid in order to maintain our fiscal solvency. And so, yes, we will make that recommendation in December.
Okay. Have we received any HAP funding yet?
No, sir. We will be coming with recommendations similarly to the HEAP grant, with recommendations to apply and to accept the funds once we have applied. The application period is not open yet. They're on a bit of a more delayed timeline than they were the last time. But we have confirmed with the state that we can reimburse HAP eligible costs after we do receive the grant. And as you recall, the last time with the HEAP funding, we received all of the funding in one lump sum at the upon approval of our grant agreement. And so we will have the funds on hand as soon as our grant agreement is approved and we execute the contract with the state in order to repay the reserve fund. Okay.
All right. I think we have some questions. Yeah, Mr. Bonnet.
So I want to make sure I understood you correctly. It sounded like you said that while we're saying that we're not really committing the HAP funds until we have the HAP discussion, that we will have no choice but to use the HAP funds.
There isn't another source to repay the reserve fund loan.
So we are making a commitment on the HAP funds. Without saying so exactly, that's exactly what we're doing. What percentage of what these two expenditures are going to be of our anticipated HAP funds?
These two expenditures amount to about, Doing math on the fly. They probably amount to about a little more than $3 million, and we expect to receive $117 million, so less than 1%.
So I would have been
maybe
better off
2%.
on the earlier item today. I would have been better off, instead of asking for HAP funds, I would have been better off asking for a loan from the reserve fund. Because then I'd get the HAP money without having to go through the HAP process.
The difference here being that the motions, the idea of this particular this particular approach, the motions for these two projects had already been approved as potential bridge home sites by the full city council, and this is the first time the other projects have come through.
That's our, some of those things which were part of the comprehensive homelessness strategy we approved years ago and haven't done anything on. But I get your point, and I'm not opposed to it. I want to call out what it is, because we are committing to HAP funds.
Let me ask this, based on Mr. Bonnet's concern, as what we're doing today, is it going to interfere or cause any sort of delay or disruption to Mr. Bonnen's particular interest?
No, we're going to come back in December with recommendations relative to the HAP grant, relative to categories for expenditure of HAP funds, considering the motions that have been introduced, the public comment that was heard when the hearing happened on the HAP grant, considering the city council meeting in June on homelessness and priorities that were identified at that time as well. And all of those things would be considered in identifying what those categories of expenditures are and a process for identifying individual programs within those categories. It should be noted that with this, and as you're all aware, we have a very healthy bridge home program. There's a lot of sites that you've all introduced and supported in all of your districts that have, and there are a number of sites that require funding for both capital and operating in order to proceed. And so that is part of the consideration as far as the HAP grant goes as
and
well.
The funding for all of this is committed. It's coming, but we haven't yet received it.
The HAP grant? That's right.
Yeah.
We are in a unique situation in the state of California, I would say, as being the only jurisdiction, including the counties and the continuums of care that will receive HAP funding, of knowing what our grant amount will be, given that the city is capped at 45% of the allocation for large cities, and regardless of what HUD certifies our count, we will exceed that 45%. So we actually know what our amount will be, and so we can have a little bit more confidence in our recommendations around the application at this point. That LASA and the county are going to be sort of subject to that certification of the point in time count prior to knowing what their allocation is.
Thank you. Mr. Rue?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very excited about the Bridge Home project in my council district. That'll take another step forward, and that's item number 11. And I just want to make a quick clarification for anyone who's listening in. We're just talking about the actual semantics and the logistics of exactly where the money is coming from. As you know, the city council, my district, myself in particular, for this particular project, Bridge Home in Riverside Drive, I am fully committed, and so is the entire city council. We are fully committed in building as many more bridge housing, permanent supportive housing, and all sorts of housing for those experiencing homelessness. And it's just, and as we know, unfortunately, some of these projects take a lot of time. This has already been approved, and we want to make sure that we move forward on this so we can start pulling the permits, start breaking ground, start doing all the necessary things that we have to do before we even break ground. So by the time the HAP monies come down, we'll be ready to go, shovel in the ground, and bills that need to be paid. So I think it's just a matter of, especially Councilmember Bonham being on the Budget Committee, figuring out what's the more efficient way to do so. But that's where we'll look to our CAO, CLA, and everyone else to figure out. But I am very, very excited. And just to let you know, this project will be, my project in Council District 4 will be on Riverside Drive in Griffith Park. It's expected to house 100 people experiencing homelessness in and around Los Feliz, Silver Lake, the LA River, and connect them all to critical life-saving services. I really want to take an opportunity to thank all of our community partners that came out today to support this project. Of course, Los Feliz Improvement Association, thank you, Amy. The Los Feliz Neighborhood Council, thank you, John. Of course, the Silver Lake Neighborhood Council, Friends of Griffith Park, SELA, the United Way Everyone In campaign, and many other community members who are here today and also expressed support, wrote letters of recommendation support, as well as participated in the many forums and outreach events. And as I think John mentioned, yes, this is very, very unique, where we have a majority. Yes, there are still a few naysayers, and we have heard them out, and we're continuing to work with them. But this is the first time, or at least my first time in Council District 4, where a community has embraced this project, has embraced a solution for homelessness instead of just complaining about it. And I really, really thank the community, because this is the crisis of our time, and it's going to take all of us. And I really think this is the model where we can prove that outreach can help, education can help. And it's literally, in this particular case, it was more than just my office or myself coming out and speaking to community members. It was literally neighbors speaking to neighbors. It was the community speaking to the community, where there is so much more level of trust. So I really thank this partnership effort. I'm very excited to move this through and seeing the next steps go forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to recommend approve both items. I'll repeat with a slight amendment regarding HAP funding. Consider these projects as part of the HAP requests that have already come forward, and include them as part of the recommendations in the upcoming HAP report that will be given on December 6th by the CEO and the CLA. Without objection, that'll be the order. And Ms. Barkley, I know you're going to want to stay for the next item, 14.
Susie Rios-Belmont on my staff will be representing the CAO on that item.
Oh, okay. Item
That's
14.
right.
Yeah, thank you.
Item number 14, City Administrative Officer Report relative to reprogramming Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority general funds from fiscal year 2018-19 adopted budget to implement programs approved in the fiscal year 2019-20 adopted budget. This item is also referred to the Budget and Finance Committee.
Hi, I'm Susie Rios-Belnat. I work in the City Administrative Officer's Office. I'm going to turn this over to Matthew Sharp at HCID and Christina Dixon at LASA, who can speak in more detail on the report, but I'm available if you have any questions. I am the LASA budget analyst in our office.
Thank you. Please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Matthew Sharp, Housing Community Investment Department, and our partner with LASA.
Christina Dixon, Director of Finance, LASA.
Thanks for the opportunity to respond to any questions you have regarding the report that was approved by the Homeless Strategy Committee in late September. The transmittal presents a series of recommendations that bring us as close as possible to fully funding the city's commitments to LASA in the 2019-20 budget year. There's a series of account transfers, contract authority requests, and other details associated with presenting the full amount of money needed to implement the programs that the city has committed to implementing through LASA and its network of nonprofit partners.
Yes, and it also represents that there was $1.7 million, approximately $1.7 million in underspend, and the recommendation is to use that to fund the 19-20 budget. So if there's any questions with regards to that, we're happy to answer those questions.
What are we expecting into the next budget in addition to the 1.7 million?
As far as underspend or need?
As far as overall budget.
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
So the spend down rate's 1.7 million, right, for the fiscal year that we're currently in?
No, that was from 18-19. So
18-19. So going into 19-20, though.
What are we anticipating as an underspend? So through our conversations that we're having monthly with HCID, CO, and CLA, we are anticipating that we'll fully spend that budget ensuring that if there are opportunities where we're seeing that there may be some underspend, making strategic requests to have that funding reinvested back into programs where we're seeing areas of greatest need. So as the programs are getting off the ground and as things are coming to operationalizing, we're seeing that there are some programs where there's additional resources that are needed, and using opportunities to take where we're seeing underspends to fund areas where we're anticipating that they'll need additional funding.
And to clarify, there was a certain level of underspend that we had identified together during the development of the 1920 budget that was built into the general fund allocation that LASA received. So we actually reduced their general fund allocation while maintaining the level of program spend that we wanted. And so this is a report back that was actually part of the budget instructions, was to come back with the final numbers for the savings amount.
So we actually did better than we initially anticipated. We spent down more of the funding, and it was through those efforts and having those strategic conversations around the spend and looking for those areas of need and being able to reallocate funding through budget modifications or amendments to ensure that the funding is going where it's needed most.
Okay. Colleagues, any questions? No? You've got it so easy. No, thank you. Thanks for your work on this.
Pleasure.
I don't have any questions either. Any more questions? So we'll approve the CO report from the Homelessness Strategy Committee without objection. That'll be the order.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shortest Homelessness and Poverty Committee hearing on record. Thank you. That's the last item. This meeting is adjourned.